Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. In this video, we are going to be unboxing a game called AuZtralia, and that's pronounced with an extra Z in there because I don't know if you guys can notice, but there may be something that kind of represents Cthulhu looking back at you in the reflection of these binoculars here. This is a game created by Martin Wallace, and you can see right down here the Great Designers Series number 11. Stronghold Games is behind this, and I cannot wait to check this out. This is a game that slipped through the cracks for me, and I never got a chance to actually check this game out when it originally came out, but I'm certainly intrigued by the theme of this game, meshed obviously with the H.P. Lovecraft world, but it's a very different vibe than what I'm used to and accustomed to with H.P. Lovecraft, so very interested to see how this works out, but I've only heard really good things for this one. So without further ado, let's flip this over, take a look at the back of the box, and then we're going to check out the components inside. Explore, build, farm, be prepared to fight for your life. It's 1932, a new world is discovered. Unfortunately, the old ones got there first. AuZtralia is designed by renowned game designer Martin Wallace and thematically linked to his game A Study in Emerald. Set in an alternate reality 1930s where the northern hemisphere lands are poisoned and the masses are starving, adventurers set out to explore and settle lands in the newly discovered AuZtralia. Little did they know that the surviving old ones have taken up residence in the outback and will soon awaken. Everything you do in the game costs time. At a point in time, the old ones will awaken and become an active player. They begin to reveal themselves and move with potentially devastating outcomes. You'll need to prepare wisely for the awakening and may have to cooperate with others to defeat the most dangerous old ones. Build a port, construct railways, mine resources, farm for food, recruit military units and unique personalities, and prepare for the awakening of the old ones for a fight for your lives. Will humanity prevail, or will the old ones wreak their revenge in AuZtralia? You can also see down here in the right hand side 150 plus custom resources, so that's really nice to see that the actual components of the game are already upgraded from what would normally be in a base game experience. You've got some really beautifully illustrated cards, what it looks like on the back of the box here, a ton of components here, which absolutely looks craziness. 13 plus for the age, 1 to 4 players, so solo play right out of the box, and I do apologize, that's just barely out of shot for you guys, and then 30 minutes to about 120 minutes to play. So without further ado, you've got a rough idea of how this lays out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the contents inside the box. So when you first open up the box, you're going to find this reference sheet. I always love seeing these, especially when it says something like this at the very top of it. Easy to forget rules. That's awesome. So it's got about 12 different rules that are very easy to forget in this game. And again, reference right up front for you to keep easy and within reach. Quick setup is over here in terms of how many steps it takes to get you going. And then you've got your combat reminders of probably very important points during the combat step. Flipping it over to the opposite side, you have a full-on player aid here. It's talking about building 2 railways. You can mine, recruit help, buy a military unit, import likely goods, attack things, of course, retrieve cubes, and then you've got a breakdown here of the effectiveness of units, whether it's infantry, you've got train, artillery, airship as example, and they're all broken down based on the different great old ones that you'll be going up against. I guess they're not so great, they're just old ones. You probably don't really want to be calling them great when they're trying to destroy you. Your score rate here at the very bottom on the left hand side, and the old ones score over here in terms of how they actually gain victory points in the game. So that covers the player aid, and now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rulebook. So the rulebook inside of AuZtralia, let's take a look through the back of the book to see roughly how many pages we're talking about here. So again, another nice reference at the back here for ending the game, scoring, effectiveness units. This is kind of some carbon copy information from the player aid that they've taken out of having to have the rulebook in front of you, of course. There's only 19 pages. Now I actually expected a much thicker rulebook overall, but this is pretty good. One thing I'll mention at the very, very back that's very important rather than to talk with this at the end is that the game variant variant for solo mode is shown right at the back there. So you can see here it says proceed as above, starting your time point marker on position 1. And when taking the recruit help action, you may also pay 1 gold to discard. So basically it's got 3 different steps here talking about the solo mode, and then it goes into right here the gold, iron, coal, VP tokens valued, survey hex 14, and what level of difficulty you really want to go up against: easy, hard, or insane. So you'd obviously want to start off easy and move your way up. Once you get to insane, well, you're probably going to have a tough time. Solo objectives are right here. Choose or select a random one of the solo objective cards that are provided inside the box. If you meet the objective, you gain the stated victory points at the end of the game. So it does say choose or select at random one of the solo objective cards, so maybe that just gives you kind of a bonus that's unknown. I don't know if you gain more than that or not, but it sounds like it's just the one. You've also got a 2-player variant and 3 to 4 challenges and everything else in there, plus full-on cooperation. So I just want to show you the back there because that gives you an idea as to the solo component for the game, which is most of interest for people here. If we take a look at the front page of the rulebook, you get yourself a nice introduction to the game itself, along with some nice artwork throughout, it looks like. You're going to come over here, get the game overview and the objectives. Again, more artwork throughout the book. Wow, that is really impressive looking. I like that. So I'm already liking the vibe of this. You got your component breakdown here in terms of what cards, player pieces, old one pieces, the game board, military units, and you name it. It's in here. We're going to see most of those up close anyway. I'm not going to go through every single page of the rulebook, but I want to give you a rough idea as to what you can expect. So this is usually pretty good because it talks strictly about setup. You can see here the board is laid out. And again, the board kind of looks quite plain. For the most part, this is probably one of the reasons why I think a lot of people might give this game a pass, is they look at the board and go, well, that's not that exciting. But the actual gameplay mechanisms and some of the components inside the game that go on the board really help to make the game pop. So don't just look at the board and go, that looks pretty. You know, they could have done more with this. Yeah, they might have been able to artistically, but the gameplay and the mechanics are where it's at with this one for sure. And really the gripe about the game board not being that colorful is very, very minor. So again, you've got the setup here. It runs from about 1 step all the way to this second page. It looks like it goes to about 14 steps total. But again, nice illustrations all the way through to make it easy to go ahead and set this up. And that's it. Once you're done there with those 2 pages, you are moving into how to play the game and your available actions like building a railway, mining, recruiting help, getting a military unit, importing, exporting, farming, attacking, retrieving cubes. We talked about all those things off the player aid. So that's basically it. I won't go right into the weeds, but everything and every action is broken down in columns in the rulebook very nicely, very easy to read and consume, just in bite-sized chunks. So I like it. So here is a view of the entire map laid out in front of you. Now, not everything is easily viewable from this shot, so I will zoom in on a couple different areas of the board in a second here, but I wanted to give you a kind of a high-level view and look at the board to show you what they were going for with the illustration here. Really, this is a map. Obviously, it's a piece of map kind of going all the way around. You're playing on the map, and essentially this map is sitting on a hardwood table underneath. That's what's the look they're going for, and actually they nailed it. Looks even better in person, but you can see kind of the torn up edges of this map around. They've also got some little pieces of items basically laying on the map, like this casing right here, a rifle casing, and then up here in the top left hand corner, might be hard to see from where you guys are sitting, there's actually a spider crawling up onto the map and stuff. So little things like these, you kind of got your compass and stuff like this, just to kind of add to that feeling like this is a map sitting on a table in front of you. I like that. They definitely nailed that really well. So here's an up-close view of the bottom right-hand corner of the game board where the map is most ripped up, and you can see they've got some iconography there as well as some of the great old ones. And again, I don't understand the gameplay mechanics behind these square areas right here, but they're all like pinned to the table essentially, which is pretty cool. So again, I'll find out more about that later. Some of these other things are just, like I said, artistic touches. Now you can actually see the score track along the outside. Here is a quick shot of the bottom left-hand side of the board. And lastly, we have a friend coming to join us on top of the table. Now this actually surprised me. I did not expect to find a double-sided board inside this box. So when I flipped this thing over, there is another side, an alternative player. Now, I don't know if one of these is strictly for solo play and one strictly for having other players involved. I'll have to look into that more deeply to see whether or not this can be played on either side of the map for any player count. But I am really excited the fact that they are making use of both sides, because I love that. A recent game like that would have been Nemesis that I took a look at, that again has two different ship layouts on the same board. Really, any board game that's modern these days should be making and taking advantage of the fact that they're already sending one board on one side. You might as well flip it over and give us a second layout on the opposite side. So definitely like seeing stuff like that. And again, totally different layout, totally different look and feel. You've got different artwork on the game board. I'm not going to zoom in on everything as I did in the last clip, but it gives you an idea as to what to expect. Next, we'll take a look at the 4-player dashboards inside the box. They're all the same, so we'll focus on one. You've got your actions here all across the top. In the grayscale area here, you have your expeditionary forces and different boxes for each of them. You have a room here for sanity. You have the Western barracks in this case, and that's going to be used to house your military units. You've got your warehouse down here in the bottom left to store resources. Your HQ right here is going to allow you to store your cubes. Now, there are 5 punch-out sheets inside the box, and I'm not going to specifically go over every single token that you're going to see in this video, but I will show you the front and back sides of all 5 of these sheets. So here is the front side. It's got a mix of all kinds of different iconography, of which is way too intricate and detailed to try to explain piece by piece. So we'll flip this over, take a look at the second side as well. I do really like the design of the tokens. Obviously, the armed vehicles look pretty awesome as well. So that is the first sheet. You got part A and you got part B essentially on either side. Then we're going to sheet number 2 here, where we're seeing some of the great old ones mixed with some of the other illustrations we actually saw on the game board itself. So again, I'll be looking into more about what that means. Plus, you're seeing different colors for these different cattle or resources in the game. Got some train tracks over here, likely for transportation. That looks like a sanity marker, just gauging from the looks of things. This is what the back of those particular tokens look like. Moving on to the third sheet, again, very similar vein here, but now going with a green look and feel. So again, this could be per player, but that's that'll be left to me to discover as I go here. The backside has to be per player based on what I'm seeing here. And then there is the backside of this. And then next up we have the blue here. So that is going to be 4 of the sheets. And I imagine we've got, oh, look at that. We've got some more sanity marks here. Okay, quite interesting. And I do really like the illustrations overall in what I'm seeing here. So the theming is quite well done. And then you've got some soldiers here. That's pretty awesome. I'm liking that a lot, actually. It's pretty cool. It's just very different than what most people are used to when it comes to Lovecraft-based games. So there is a look at the back sheet, and that is going to wrap up the 5 token sheets that you'll be punching out when picking up AuZtralia. So once the rule books, player aids, the board itself, and also all the punch-out boards are removed from the box, you're going to see this colorful insert inside, which is actually quite a nice touch compared to most inserts, which are just, gray or just have no artwork whatsoever on them. So it's nice to see that additional touch of care here. You're also going to find a bunch of bags that you can keep things organized with, a whole whack of them, to be honest. So if you really want to separate and organize, you'll have all the bags that you need. You got a couple decks of cards that we'll actually open up and take a look at in a second. At a high level, we'll take a look at some of these components here. You can see we've got some cubes here in this pack. We've got some more cubes in this pack. Again, they're going to represent different things within the game that I won't get into here, but things like coal and iron and gold and all this kind of stuff. And then you've got some other markers here. Again, remember player colors and things like that, so likely tracking tokens. You've got some, ooh, look at this. You've got some seaworthy tokens, looks like there. We got some nice silver cubes here, representing likely a resource. And this is where we get into some of the fancier resource tokens. I'm guessing these are the 4 that have been kind of bumped up in quality. So these silver cubes that I was talking about earlier, they represent silver within the game. These much larger tokens represent phosphate in the game. These tokens represent coal within the game. And finally, you have these literally amazing looking components for the gold within the game. These are awesome. Like, that is a seriously nice upgrade. They even shine like gold. They have some nice weight to them, and there's more of them in the bag. I've got a whole bunch in my hand here, but I mean, they just make you want to actually pick them up. So now that we've covered all the components inside the box, except for the cards, how about we go ahead and do that right now? Look at the backs of these cards. The illustration looks amazing. So I'm going to flip through these really quick because I think these are all the same. And again, these particular cards are called the Old One cards. And I'm not going to be able to actually tell you roughly what I'm seeing here iconography-wise, but I can hopefully give you a rough idea as to what to expect. But again, this is probably going to be the deck that actually controls the AI of these particular enemies in the game. So that's my guess. I'll have to double check that later on, but I do know for a fact these are called the Old One cards, so they're definitely specific to them. So you've got all these breakdown of cards. You'll see the numbers up top are changing. You've got icons changing, different lanes or columns, I should say, of different colors and shading, have different meanings, obviously. So there's not too much artwork on these ones, being that this is probably the control. So if you're playing in a solo capacity, my guess is that this is what you're going to be getting used to very, very quickly. So anyone that's actually played this game, being that it's been out for quite some time, let me know in the comments below. Just confirm, is this the AI deck in fact? Because it's looking like it is. Lastly, we have a much larger deck of cards, and there's a bunch of them all mixed together. So this one right here is the 5 two-player variant cards. They're the red ones here. After that, we have the 10 solo objective cards we talked about earlier, so we'll see the front side of those soon enough. Next up, we have the 30 revelation cards. There's 10 of each level inside of this, so we'll go ahead and flip past those. The 40 Old One cards we already saw. And lastly, once we get past those, we get to the 36 personality cards. So now that you know roughly where they kind of sit, we'll flip this over and actually take a look at them all and see if we can actually, wow, there is some serious artwork on these. And now these are easy to read cards. I'm already loving the text, definitely thematic to this game automatically. So they picked a good font for this. Easy to read, and the illustrations are huge on the cards. I love that. More games need to do that, to be honest, to have less words and more illustrations, because it really draws you in. Look at the artwork on these cards. They're fantastic. So we're just going to move through this stuff here one at a time so you can kind of enjoy them. Got a captain there. That's so awesome. Count. So many very unique pieces of art here. If one of your units is eliminated, return it to your barracks. General, hairy bones. So I'm guessing these are all different characters you could potentially have joining you, potentially. I have no idea. So this falls into the personality stuff. So these are the people that you're going to interact with, I guess, potentially. So that's very interesting. I like, again, that they went full on with the illustrations for the personality cards. That's a smart choice. Just makes thematic sense that you focus on the image of the characters. You can very much imagine or envision it yourself. Okay, so what are we running into here? These are now getting to the levels for the revelation cards. So again, in what order? I'm not 100% sure, but these will give you a good idea as to the revelation cards and some of them on them. So you want to take a look at the very bottom of the card. They're going to tell you like this one, reveal the old one in the lowest numbered hex. So this is going to spit some good stuff at you for sure. You're going to have a mix of things to deal with in this one. Some of the card art is replicated across. Some of it is not. But it does change in terms of what it's actually telling you to do. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a carbon copy. So all the different levels of things. Now again, remember, I'm going through multiple different colors of these level of the Revelation deck. So that's probably why there's duplicates, because they're going to be sitting in all the different decks. That card is gone forever. The Great Old One has devoured it. So we'll continue on. It's fallen into the black abyss and will never come back again. The very last ones here, oh, these ones are interesting because this is, I think, the solo stuff. Yes, so these blue ones here are solo objectives. You guys really want to see this. The Golden Glow reward, 20 VP, end the game. So this is going to be the big thing you're kind of going after. You got some here that, if I'm not mistaken, that's sanity based. So it probably mentions that in here somewhere. I could be wrong on that, though. That might not be the sanity symbol. It looks like it. Straight to the top, reward, reveal all the level 3 old ones. That does not sound like something you really want to do all that much. Frantic Farmer, Railroader, well equipped. You're seeing the victory points there as well. Arm's length 2, lean and mean, And then the very, very final things here are the 2-player. There's 5 cards here for the 2-player variant cards. So for individuals interested in playing this in a 2-player variant that we saw at the back of the book, those are the cards for those. So that actually does it. That is the entirety of the cards that come inside of AuZtralia. And that's going to conclude the unboxing for AuZtralia from Martin Wallace and Stronghold Games. Thanks to my patrons for their support of the channel, as well as voting for this particular game to be unboxed on the channel, so that you guys can make an informed decision as to whether or not this is a game you would like to pick up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.